So we want to move on next to our other panel, and actually it was fitting that Professor Mahmood was here for the prior panel because the focus is actually on the nexus between water and energy, and that's an area that Pittsburgh, our region, certainly has long-standing expertise going back for 100 or more years. And so we're going to focus next on the clear opportunity of emerging trends and solutions in the water energy nexus. And I'm pleased to have with us for this session three really terrific representatives of their industries and their companies, as well as our region. First off, Venkee Sharma, who is the president and CEO of Aquatech International. Welcome, Venkee. Randy Dearth, the president and CEO of Calgon Carbon Corporation. Finally, John Smith, the manager of Environmental Science and Sustainable Technology Division of ALCOA Technology.
Bill, you look thirsty, so I wanted to give you a Coke from an aluminum bottle.
A Coke from an aluminum bottle. All right, another application pioneered right here in our region. Great to see all three of you. Go ahead and have a seat. Yeah, scooch down one more there, John. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, this is terrific. Some really amazing technologies emerging here in the region. Some of you touched directly sort of on the Marcellus Shale and that activity here. Some more broadly on water treatment technology. I think we'll start out. I'm going to ask each of you just briefly talk a little bit about your company, what you do here, and kind of how you touch the topic we're here to talk about today. So, John, I'll start with you.
I'd be happy to. First of all, happy to be here, and it was interesting listening to some of the other panelists talk about how the industry started in Pittsburgh, and it made me think that ALCOA 125 years ago.
That's right. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
125 this year.
Started the aluminum thanks. Started the aluminum industry a few blocks from here on Smallman Street with the first smelter. And since that time, ALCOA now operates in 31 countries. And our recent partnership now has us putting in the largest integrated aluminum complex in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So that's starting up now, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And the other thing I would like to mention, though, too, from a sustainability perspective, ALCOA has always been a leader, I feel, in sustainability. We started recycling aluminum back in the 50s and 60s and have been a leader since then. We're on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index last 12 years, and we also excuse me, in that regard, have focused on recycling aluminum, but now we're moving into other areas of energy and water, and I'll talk about the water sustainability focus in a little bit more, but it allows us to look at things that one may not associate with aluminum, but from a sustainability perspective, I think we're making good progress.
Yeah, I know you guys are big electricity users. I didn't know about this whole water expertise that you've developed here as well. Randy Dearth, Calgon Carbon, what's that all about?
Yeah, well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for having me here today. Calgon Carbon, compared to my colleague to the right here, we're a young company. We're only 70 years old, so about half as old as ALCOA. But for about as many years, we have been producing activated carbon and selling activated carbon into the water, municipal, and wastewater treatment area. And here we are today, 70 years later, with a product, again, 70 years old. We haven't done much to it in that period of time, but as the energy sector is developing, as new applications are coming online, we're taking this technology and trying to find a new purpose. And we're happy, since that time, we've added some UV technologies, some more equipment to be able to complement what we do. But we're happy to take our technologies and be challenged with new applications like energy to be able to solve the world's problems.
Very good. Okay, I didn't realize I'm going kind of from the oldest to the youngest company here. But Venkee Sharma, tell us about Aquatech.
Well, we're only 30-plus years old, but we're founded in Pittsburgh, headquartered in Pittsburgh. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. What we do is very relevant and synergistic with kind of all of the topics here today around the energy water nexus. We've been in the Middle East working for clients for over 25 years, and whether it's desalination or oil and gas type applications, we are thrilled to see the opportunities in the Marcellus and Utica shales, as well as other shale plays within the United States, since we're based in the U.S., based in Pittsburgh. So we're a service company in the Marcellus and Utica that operates mobile assets, so we can take solutions to the well pad. Everything we do is about sustainability, so we're able to take solutions to the well pads, to satellite facilities for producers, water management solutions, as well as central facilities. And we as well operate in oil and gas plays such as the oil sands. So we're all about reuse, we're about water efficiency, and we're about technology to enable our clients' businesses.
Yeah, and Venkee, I think we've got a couple of slides, so we can pull them up to give people a sense of these technologies you're talking about. Because Aquatech used to be, these were great big facilities, right? You'd build on a next to a giant petrochemical complex, millions and millions of dollars. But it's a great illustration in Aquatech how Pittsburgh companies saw this opportunity in the Marcellus, and you're racing to grab it. Tell the story about how you came up with these more mobile applications.
Well, the contrast of big oil is, we did the world's largest enhanced oil recovery steam flood recycle system for Occidental in Oman. And that treats nearly 1 million gallons of produced water a day. Basically, we've been working in these technologies in the oil sands or other applications. And when we saw the opportunity in the Marcellus, we set a different group, a different division of people, some of our brightest people, and focused them on delivering solutions that would enable the industry. And we realized very quickly that this is not big oil, big assets. This is mobility. This is ability to drive down transportation costs, ability to reduce infrastructure impact. So we took our technologies and we basically miniaturized them into mobile capability.
So you're kind of seeing that on the chart there, right? They arrive on a tractor trailer, and now you have your own water filtration system on the pad, right?
Whether it's on the pad or whether we're looking at a multi-well area or for multiple, a small geographical area where there's a lot of drilling, we can set up a satellite with multiple trailers to support that. And the real issue is driving down the client's cost and doing it in an environmentally safe way and compliant way.
You're not yet like an ALCOA, multi-billion-dollar, you're working on it, but not. So for a mid-sized company like yours, how long did it take you to pull off this innovation and bring it to market, and how do you decide to make that kind of decision?
See, the real issue for us was converting our DNA from just a technology and equipment and systems producer to a real service DNA within the Marcellus, because clients don't want to buy equipment. They want to pay for their service on a per barrel basis. And we started and developed our technologies probably in 2009, and today we have a division of perhaps 40 people that are focused on just the Marcellus area and operate central satellite and mobile facilities for our clients.
So your time to market was fairly rapid from the time you decided could be an opportunity here until
I would have liked to have been earlier, but I think it's just still the beginning, and there's a lot of the things that we're doing here with the complexities in the water, the complexities that are starting to happen in logistics of water supply as well as regulation, the opportunities to take what we're learning here and developing, and it is, as somebody said earlier, it's rapidly changing and it's rapidly evolving, and you need to be, in my 30 years in this industry, I haven't seen a much faster changing market than this. And so we can transport these solutions to many of the other plays that are starting to happen around the world.
Okay, Randy, so Venkee's issue, how to make something big really small and do it fast to capture an opportunity. How do you take a commodity like activated carbon and find new ways to do things with it that are really going to be relevant to the folks that are interested in water and energy?
Well, it's interesting in the frac area. Activated carbon has the ability to take out a lot of different things. But the biggest problem with frac water is desalination. And activated carbon, unfortunately, doesn't take that out. But what we're finding is municipalities who are very, very concerned about their drinking water, and they've not been reusing the water once it's wastewater, they're finding that activated carbon can help them and alleviate some of their issues and some of their problems. And so we're finding now these municipalities over, a lot of these regions that are doing fracking are gaining that peace of mind that we can help them reuse the water, help them treat the water so that it's safe, and that's really where we see our play. Now, on our UV side of the business, we do see some
UV,
applications.
ultraviolet light. Okay, yeah.
What ultraviolet light has the ability to do is to, when it zaps the water, when the water passes through, it has the ability to disrupt the DNA of microorganisms. And by doing so, the microorganisms don't replicate, and eventually they die. And we're finding in the frac space, there are some areas where that is a concern, that the microorganisms are reproducing, becoming an issue. So the activated carbon, we're seeing utility on the municipal side, where again, we're helping municipalities deal with the issue of scarcity of water, but the UV really provides that rounding to get us into the frac space.
So you're finding an opportunity with UV, but the other big opportunity for UV, as I understand, is ballast and bilge water for ships?
Huge. There are about 60,000 ships out there today that within the next 5 to 10 years all must be retrofitted. We all hear about the zebra mussels, and we hear about all different kinds of evasive species being transported around the world, destroying ecosystems. Our technology will be able to, through the UV science, be able to take these evasive microorganisms and again disrupt them in the same way I just described, so that when water's being shipped around the world in ships as ballast water, that it can be treated.
So potential market around the world for any
60,000 ships. We're one of about 30 suppliers, but you do the math. I'll take a 10% market share and be happy.
If you can get it. All right, fascinating stuff. ALCOA, all right, you guys make aluminum. You use a lot of electricity. What in the world does any of that have to do with the water?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say, yeah, there does take a lot of energy to make aluminum, but once you recycle aluminum, you only use 5% of that energy.
Wow,
So, and aluminum is infinitely recyclable. And in that regard to sustainability, ALCOA, within our own locations worldwide, started looking at how can we manage water in a more sustainable manner. And with the good people I have the pleasure to work with at the ALCOA Tech Center, we started looking at natural wetlands as a way to treat water at our facilities, and to treat it in a way that not just addresses conventional pollutants like suspended solids or things that normally wetlands are associated with, but how can we treat cyanides, PCBs, other type chemicals that normally aren't associated with wetland type treatment. And we built our own test full-scale facility of a wetland at the ALCOA Tech Center that's been running for 5 years.
Now, is that where this picture is from?
That's what that photo is right there. That's the natural system, and water is being treated through that wetland process below the surface. And we're finding that it can use no chemicals, and it also is very robust. And because of the success we've had with the ALCOA Tech Center wetland process, this is a artist's rendition of what have just installed in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, treating approximately 5,000 cubic meters per day, or roughly 1.82 million gallons per day of water. And what's unique in Saudi Arabia is that we're treating all the water from the different processes along with sanitary. That was pre-construction, and we have just started that unit up, and it's treating all this water to a quality that's being recycled, reused. And so all that water, wastewater, is being used back in the process instead of using desalination water, which is very costly. And there's a photo after 2 or 3 months of seeding the wetland, treating the wastewater in the kingdom.
But it's Saudi Arabia. Lots of sun, lots of heat. Doesn't the water all just kind of evaporate away?
No, if you look, right now you see a little bit of a pool of water. What we do is to start up the operation, we had the water on the surface, but now the operation is that once the plants are established, the water is below the surface, and therefore evaporation is not occurring. It's only evapotranspiration, which is through the roots. So now, if we had within the last week or so, the water is below the surface, and if you could go back to that slide from the ALCOA Tech Center.
Can you back it up a couple of slides, a slide or two?
Show that.
One more back. One more back. We're still.
Yep, this is the plantings.
There we go.
Okay, if you look there, that's what we're running, and the water is approximately 6 inches below the surface, so you can walk on that. And that is the system that we're installing in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
When we were planning, we just had it flooded a little bit.
So this takes just the wastewater coming out of the industrial facility.
Yes.
How clean can it make it?
We are meeting irrigation standards, which are extremely stringent in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the U.S. So this water is of a quality that we're able to recycle and reuse it for irrigation and processed water purposes as well.
Now, it looks like you need a lot of land next to your factory to be able to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, you do need a bit more land, but what we're also doing is looking at how we can reduce the footprint, and we're also continuing research and development to get the footprint down to the same size as conventional tank-based treatment systems. And we're also looking at first, this technology was developed primarily for ALCOA in our locations, but we have just formed a partnership with a German company that is also very big and known in wetland treatment throughout the world, Bauer Company, and we're using them as our commercialization arm, working with them to deploy this technology outside of ALCOA locations.
Wow, so this is going to become a whole new business opportunity for ALCOA
Yes, very
beyond
much
just
so.
making your own operations run cleanly. I wonder, you hear about this. There's all really exciting, fascinating stuff. Do you see these technologies as complementary, or are the three of you going to be beating up each other in the years to come, trying to get market share?
Well, I don't think there's any one answer, and I think everybody's got to bring the expertise they have, the knowledge they have, the products they produce, and come together to help solve this problem. When you look, for instance, the world water supply situation, okay, is a good example, because this is a huge problem. When you look at 2030, out so many years, that our water demand is going to increase by 50%. Okay, that's a world problem. The supply that we have today, we're going to require 60% more of it to meet the demands of that 50% increase. It's an issue, and I don't think any one company, any one technology is going to solve it. It's going to be everybody coming together and taking a piece of it, and that's a huge, huge problem.
I totally agree. I think that the different technologies and the different approaches are really specific to a situation and a problem. And the solutions like ALCOA highlighted have very good applications in certain situations, and probably will be extremely good in areas like agricultural and probably other applications. But there are so many different complex water problems out there. I think there's places for all of the technologies and integration of these technologies together to really deliver solutions. So, and new problems keep cropping up every day.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated. Well, and Calgon Carbon's a good example. I mean, Pittsburgh, our region, has been pioneering in this whole idea of water engineering and solutions for a long time, have we not?
We have, and we were a pioneer also in the reactivation of carbon.
Oh.
And especially municipalities financially that are having a difficult time, we can go in and promote the service whereby once their carbon has done its job, and we call it spent carbon, it's used, it's contaminated at that point with contaminants that they've collected. We take it back. We have trucks and people that'll go to their facility, take it back. We pump it into ovens to be able to drive off then the material that's in that carbon and give it back to the customer at a price of about 40% less than what they're paying today. We pioneered that. Saudi Arabia, that was mentioned earlier, they're also asking us, can we have this type of technology in the Middle East? We're in Europe, we're in Asia, we're here in the US. And again, it's that sustainability approach to take our product one step further and be able to offer a solution that our customers not only makes them more affordable, but makes them able to comply with sustainability standards.
Sure, what sounds like you made a big investment in carbon up front. Then what, they used to just pitch it? That's
No,
what
it was
happened to
landfills.
it?
It was all landfills.
Landfills.
Yeah.
And so you can repurpose how much of it now?
You can take it all back.
Take it
and
all
normally
back.
the process, we lose about 10% of the carbon, but we can put new in, and so a customer gets a pound for pound back. But again, it's that type of out-of-the-box thinking that I think companies now, to be successful, are going to have to continue to do. The problems that were mentioned, they're huge. They're huge problems, especially in water, and we got to think differently.
We've used the sustainability buzzword a couple of times. It sounds to me like the sustainability is becoming real business and real business opportunities these days.
Well, if you look at the definition of sustainability, it's a three-legged stool is the definition I like. It's protection of the environment, economic growth and viability, and social responsibility. And you need all three, or the three-legged stool moves over. So good business is also good sustainability. And I would like to add too that what was echoed, ALCOA at our locations use carbon, we use Aquatech technology. So it is complementary, and you do want to come up with the best solution. And even in the Saudi Arabia example, where they had to get to zero or 100% disinfection or zero coliform bacteria, we have a UV unit at the very, very end of it. So I don't know if it's Calgon's, but
We'll have a discussion.
My guess is somebody's going to be exchanging business cards before the conference is over today. Anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts? Yeah, right over there. Microphone. Somebody got a mic? Got a roving mic? Here he is. The judge at the back of the room. He's running forward. He's trying to find his way through the maze. Okay, here he comes. We'll get the mic up front.
Thank you for this.
Oh, you're the Nile guy.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
he's
yes.
a customer guy.
Okay, I have 3 questions for the wetland especially, because I'm very interested in that. How much costs for treating like 1 meter? Can you give me some economic number for treating 1 meter of wastewater in Saudi Arabia? That's number 1. Number 2, what kind of agriculture types have been there? It's only wood or some other things? Third, this technology can be used for, instead of wastewater, I mean for municipals, also can use be for agriculture? Thank you.
Did you get that?
in terms of the actual cost, I don't have the actual cost for Saudi Arabia, but I can say that typically wetland technologies are, we find 60 to 70% energy savings with what we're, the unit we put in at the ALCOA Tech Center, and we're expecting to see that also in Saudi Arabia from a OpEx savings. From a CapEx savings, capital expenditure savings, we are also seeing significant, but it depends on the particular application, where that CapEx savings could be 10%, but could go as high as 70%, but it depends on the wastewater you're treating, as well as the level you have to achieve for treatment standards, whether or not it's going to be reused, how it's going to be reused, and whatnot. So I can give you that perspective compared to conventional tank-based systems, and perhaps we could have a further discussion, a little more detail, but there's no one number like per cubic meter, a half a cent or something. I don't have that number fresh in my head. So
this brings up a really good example. The Nile River kind of is an interesting illustration. Egypt has gone towards basically, if you're creating any type of wastewater, you need to basically put it back into the Nile at drinking water standards. Not much different from what we see in Pennsylvania as far as what the DEP is regulated in the EPA. What the gentleman asked from as far as agriculture, of course we know the Nile and agriculture have a long history, but you know, Aquatech is engaged in doing the first zero liquid discharge facility for an ethylene plant in Egypt right now. But they also are looking at opportunities that ALCOA technology could be utilized. And there's a slew of growth that's going on the Nile around chemical industry and petrochemical industry there. So these problems are real, and they're very similar, and they mirror the types of challenges that are being faced in the Marcellus, but in a different way.
I think the other question too is, does this apply, this ALCOA technology, for municipal as well as industrial treatment? Was that another part of your question? Is that right?
Yes, that's great. But I also want to know what kind of agriculture using this wastewater.
What kind of agriculture? What kind of plants they're using? So yeah, what were the plants we saw there? And then is this applicable to municipal treatment as well as industrial?
yeah, very much so. What I showed earlier for what was put in at the ALCOA Technical Center, which is about 30 miles east of here, that's treating 100% sanitary, and now we're upgrading it to also treat some processed waters as well. So yeah, it's very applicable for sanitary. And what we're doing also though is sanitary plus industrial. That's the focus, because within ALCOA there was a need for sanitary treatment, but there was also an equal need for treating processed waters. And so that's where the innovation that we were able then to not just do it for sanitary, but also apply it for industrials as well.
Before we go to another question, while we still have a little bit of time left, I do want to recognize somebody who played a really important role in putting this particular panel together, and that's Sam Johnson from the Water Economy Network, which is now based here in Pittsburgh, trying to leverage these companies and many more that have built a century or more of expertise in water solutions. Sam here anywhere? Well, there he is. Want to say a couple of words?
I would love to, and I'm going to stand up here if that's
fine.
okay.
That's cool. Go ahead.
You know, all you have to do is look out a window anywhere in Pittsburgh, and you can see that you're staring at the most stable watershed in the world. And those of us in the area here that work in industry realize that we have this confluence that we need to take advantage of. And when you think about that, how do we do that? You know, you get great ideas from universities. You get money from foundations. You get corporations that need that water to function. The only way to really gain the advantage is probably to pool all of those kinds of resources together, put that brain power together to figure out exactly how we can take advantage of this great resource and how we might be able to entice other industries to join in responsible use of this great watershed. And that's the purpose behind WEN. It's a direct application to what you might do in your countries as well when you think about your scarce water resources, the ability to pull those resources together in one place and build a team effort in focusing on using that resource in a responsible way. And that's the purpose behind WEN. We pull together universities, the foundations, to include even the EPA, and we've built this network here that also collaborates with other clusters around America, and the beauty is then we're sharing best practices. We've got initial successes. We've been around for a little bit, less than a year. Our focus is on doing and figuring out how we can use these great water resources in industry, and that's WEN.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Water Economy Network, we're told, I think it's, I can't remember, it's Corps of Engineers, one of those federal agencies, that Pittsburgh has the most reliable watershed in the United States of America. So, it's because it rains a lot here. But we've got plenty of water, but plenty of issues as well with industrial development and what's happening here. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, a couple right back that way. All right, got another microphone. The mic person. Okay, Jeff, straight back that way. Got two hands right in a row.
Hi, I'm Shashank. I have a couple of questions. First of all, I understand that water treatment and desalination is a very energy-intensive process. So, has there been some kind of a study to, if we switch to alternative energy, like renewable sources of energy, what's the impact on the life cycle of these processes, and is there a significant reduction in the carbon footprint? And my second question is, most of the technologies we're talking about here is at an industry level. Is there a market maturity for implementing this more at a consumer level to, you know, bring this process to a more expanded point of view?
Okay, great. So first off, the
Okay,
energy intensity.
I think the gentleman brings up an important point, which is kind of the theme of this panel, which is the energy-water nexus. Energy and the energy industries use lots of water, and water uses lots of energy, and I think that's the heart of his point. I think the technologies of desalination, first of all, you have to understand that depending on which play you're in, if you're in Marcellus, the TDS of the water is much higher than, say, the Barnett.
The total
shales.
dissolved solids.
Total dissolved solids,
dissolved
yes.
solid, TDS.
So the types of desalination processes used are different. Applying renewables or applying gas fire technologies to drive down costs of energy consumption is something that's constantly being looked at. One of the things people don't realize that 75% of the cost of water management is in transportation. So driving down transportation costs is actually a very large value objective of every gas producer. But, you know, for example, people are looking at things like solar, intermixing solar with evaporative technologies. May have some limited uses in Pennsylvania, but in other places like Oman is going to be fantastic. In Saudi Arabia, a lot of good opportunities. So that convergence of renewables with desalination technologies is important. But when you get down to it, what clients need in, say, shale gas is really to drive down their overall water management, logistics, those types of costs, and that's driving down fuel costs of transportation.
And the other question was, any of this translating to the consumer level? You three are all supplying industrial water solutions.
Oh, Randy does consumer.
Yeah, we do a little bit of consumer, especially like in the home filter market. And going back to, I mentioned the reactivation and your question about carbon footprint. That is one area that we see about 20% reduction in the carbon footprint by being able to convince our customers to use the reactivation. It's used in the food industry. It's used obviously in the industrial water industry. So that is one way that we can contribute to that. So.
Okay, and another little company here in Pittsburgh you might want to check out. I think it's called Epiphany Solar Water, and they do kind of a portable system that I guess they now have a relationship with Consol Energy, another big natural gas producer, to do some on-site water filtration using a solar technology. Obviously, because of our sunshine or lack thereof here in the region, I suspect it has some limitations, but it's an exciting technology, and they think it's got a lot of potential for deployment around the world where there's a lot more sunshine than there is here. I think there was another question. Yes, right here. Is the microphone still, there we come, coming towards you there. All right.
You had mentioned that some of your end users are obviously shale gas operations and municipalities. Obviously they're spread out. A lot of them are often quite small. How do they become aware of your company's unique technologies and unique product offerings?
Well, I think when you're, for example, each market is very unique. So we shouldn't generalize even Marcellus or in Utica. Even within Marcellus, you start talking about regions within Marcellus. And I think it just, our customers are end user gas producers, and our biggest benefit is it's a small industry, and it's success with one client. They talk to each other, so there's a lot of word of mouth and recommendations. Plus, we have long relationships with many of these clients. So when we go to a new play, hopefully we're following a client to a new play, and we spread along that way. So it's a very closely knit industry from that standpoint.
In terms of municipalities, we have a very vast network. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of municipalities that are making decisions every day how to treat their water. We have engineers here in Pittsburgh and around the country that go out and help the municipalities understand what it is they have, how to fix the problem they have. We actually, in Pittsburgh, manufacture equipment. Many years ago, some of these smaller municipalities said, we just don't know how to use your product. We don't have the right equipment. Well, we'll make it for you. And we actually put our carbon in and we ship it. And then on top of that, I can offer these reactivation services, which, as I said before, economically helps these financially strapped municipalities be able to deal with what they need to deal with. In some cases, they just want to remove taste and odor. In some cases, they do have a big problem they have to solve, and activated carbon or the UV technology will solve it. So we're out there, and they want help, and we want to serve that need.
I'll say from ALCOA's standpoint, this is, I would say, the first public announcement that ALCOA, with the partnership we have with the Bauer Company, is the first public announcement that we're looking at commercializing this technology. So this is the first step of a strategic marketing approach. And again, with the success that we're having in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with the one wetland application that we just installed, we're hoping to leverage that along with the expertise of the Bauer Company. Also, I'd like to mention that from a consumer standpoint, one thing that we see strategically that wetlands provides also, it may not be an individual home, but if there's a developer or an apartment building that's going in, and if there's a little bit of land adjacent to it, or you see these developments where you have a park, this wetland could fit into that kind of landscaping, if you will, and then the water would be available for irrigation or for reuse, not as potable water yet, but for reuse back in the apartment building for other non-potable uses, or for if you're in a development area for irrigation of lawns and whatnot. So we are beginning to think like that as well in terms of working with developers also.
Really exciting stuff. And so today, the first public announcement about the rollout of this new product for ALCOA and your partner. Very good. You heard it here first at the American Middle East Institute. How about a round of applause for our three panelists? Really terrific topic. Thank you all so much.